All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the first game of the 2025 season. This is Ryan Schumpert. I'm Rick Butler, back here for another year of the stand-up post-game videos after Tennessee football games. Tennessee begins the 2025 season off with a victory, a 45-26 win over Syracuse right here in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Ryan, I'll go to you. Obviously, Joey Aguilar being the talk of the town throughout the offseason, throughout fall camp. Who was it going to be? But all kind of broadened it out to just the offense as a whole. What stood out to you about the way that Tennessee was able to put those 45 points up on the board? I know some of them did come from the defensive side. We'll get back from that, but it's a big number for Tennessee here to start off the year.
For sure. I think what you'd want to see from Tennessee in the opener, you said it, there was a scoop and score, there was an interception that set Tennessee up in the red zone, so they got some help from the defense at times, but I thought really throughout the game, Tennessee moved the ball well offensively. Obviously, like you said, all eyes were on Joey Aguilar. I thought it was more good than bad. A little bit of inaccurate throws on some of the shorter stuff, high pretty consistently, but a good command of the offense and was generally solid, hit the deep ball. You saw that the Braylon Staley, that was obviously the big highlight play today, the 73-yard touchdown. And I think you saw him make a couple nice plays off script too. One of them on a touchdown to Star Thomas, another one on a touchdown to Chris Brassel that got called back for ineligible man down the field, and then it wasn't quite off script to Kitzelman, but it wasn't bread and butter, super easy there either on that last touchdown. So certainly I thought there was more to like from Aguilar than not. And then to just wrap it up with the offense, I thought the story of the day was the offensive line, who looked really, really good. There was a lot of positive buzz around them in fall camp. We felt like they were going to be better, and certainly they'll be tested way, way more than they were today down the line. But Aguilar wasn't sacked. He wasn't pressured. It didn't feel like a whole lot. And Tennessee ran the ball for 246 yards. So a very good day for the offensive line that I think was kind of the steady force for a good day for Tennessee's offense.
Yeah, I'll kind of bounce right off that. You talk about 246 rushing yards for Tennessee's offense, 247 passing yards from Joey Aguilar. It's almost as 50-50 as you could possibly be in terms of balance. And I think we know that ultimately that's what Josh Heupel wants to do with his offense, is there's a balance. The run sets up the pass complements the run. All of those things work together, and I think you saw that in a good display here today. You talked about the offensive line. They're leading the way for a talented running back room, and that's something that we felt like coming into this season. We wanted to see what it looked like. They used a lot of balance. I'm sure some of those things will change throughout the year, but you look at the numbers. Star Thomas goes for 92 yards and a receiving touchdown. Deshaun Bishop goes for 82 yards and a touchdown. And then Peyton Lewis goes for 38 yards and a touchdown. And really, that drive before the end of the half that Deshaun Bishop put together, he breaks off the 47-yard run. He gets another run that I think is about 7 yards to keep him going, and then obviously punches it in for the score. That was a big moment for Tennessee just to add a little bit of insurance there in the first half. But I like what I saw out of Tennessee's running back room, again, combined with what you were saying, that offensive line performance.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess some confirmation bias we got today. We were high on the running back room all offseason, all
good
camp.
For us.
Yeah, we were alone in that. Nobody else, no other media thought the running back were going to be good. But on the same time, we said, what's this running back room going to end up looking like? Very much three-headed monster today.
Yeah.
Carries were pretty even. I think Bishop and Thomas had a little bit more than Lewis, but from the drive standpoint, it felt pretty even. And there wasn't a whole lot of a hot hand situation either. It kind of continued to rotate through the entire game. And Bishop had to run it today. You talked about it on that drive, the long one that he busted before halftime.
It was incredible.
Yeah, it looked like he was bottled up in the backfield. He got around the end. Star Thomas just looked really solid. And then Peyton Lewis's numbers weren't as impressive, but I thought he ran the ball well. His touchdown run, which was Tennessee's first of the season, was a strong run. Kind of made contact with the linebacker about the 2-yard line and just powered his way in. So those guys looked good, and you even saw DeJuan Morris get a drive in there. Had 2 carries for 2 yards, so it wasn't like he was great in it. But I thought it was interesting that they had enough confidence to go to him here in the opener.
You even saw a little bit of Joey Wheels, which is something we saw in the highlight tape from Aguilar coming over from App State, is that he wasn't afraid to lower his shoulder, and he's certainly not afraid to take off if something wasn't there. He adds in 46 yards, I believe, 34 yards on the ground as well. So there you go. That's a strong day from Tennessee's offense. On the defensive side of the ball, a little bit banged up coming into the game. Obviously, we knew about Jermon McCoy and David Hobbs on the defensive line. But certainly as the game went on, Tennessee had lost some defenders through injury. I believe Arion Carter might have came back late in the game or something like that. But that was, to me, one of the big notable things is that Tennessee just wasn't really at full strength as Syracuse racked up their 26 points.
Yeah, I think you would point to 2 spots on the defense where they were maybe a little bit thin, being a defensive tackle and being cornerback, which Hobbs' injury and Jermon McCoy injuries have a huge part of why it felt like they were thin going in this game, and they were tested there. I mean, Jackson Moy, 5 defense plays into the game or so, goes down. He doesn't return with an upper body injury. Nathan Robinson, I thought that he was the first guy in. So we see he's that third guy while Hobbs is out. He made some plays. He knocked that ball out on the Colton Hood scoop and score. But even he got banged up twice in the game and exited in return. And then secondly, Ricky Gibson, injury in the second quarter, doesn't come back in. I felt very different about those two rooms and how they responded. The cornerback, it felt like they answered it. Ty Redmond, he wasn't perfect. You can see why for a true freshman they really like him. And Colton Hood looks like a stud. All the buzz that there has been all offseason about him, he looked great. Defensive tackle, on the other hand, I did not think they looked very good. The defensive line, I would say, was the biggest. If offensive line might have been the biggest positive of the day, I think defensive line might have been the biggest negative. Tennessee just did not control things up front the way I thought they might against a shaky Syracuse offensive line. So, we'll see. They'll look to get healthy. We'll see how they can grow, but that's definitely a concern for me that I'll be circling in a big way when Georgia comes to town in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it is. And through some of those struggles, it almost felt like the offense was bailing out the defense at times.
Yeah,
and that was, you go back to last season, and that wasn't the case. It was a lot of the defense bailing out the offense. It shows how, hey, it's a new season. So many things can change. And obviously it's game 1 of a new season. So there's so many places for this team to grow no matter what direction you kind of look at. But I think you wrote about that. You said it during the game, and I think that was one of the notable takeaways as you look down and the offense was kind of able to rally a couple of moments where the defense struggled or let up a touchdown here or there. Offense was able to respond and kind of keep their opponent at bay overall.
Yeah, and I think you give the credit to defense too a little bit in there too. With the scoop and score was a play after Joey Aguilar fumbled. It was Tennessee's lone turnover
very next play
of the game. So I mean that was Oklahoma-esque last year where Tennessee. Nico got strip sacked twice. Tennessee forced a turnover the very next play both times. So for sure, and I think defense. You saw some things to like with the linebackers blitzing. Aaron Carter had a sack. Evan Spillman had a sack. And again, I thought the corners played well. Better in man coverage. Some of the zone coverage stuff wasn't great. It's always these early non-conference games. You don't know what the other team necessarily has in a lot of cases, and we don't know that for Syracuse. So I'll be really curious to see what their offense looks like the rest of the way. I was impressed by some things Steve Angeli did today. He made a couple of nice throws, I thought, and a couple of nice plays eluding pressure. The big one, Boo Carter's got to make that sack on 4th down. That really puts the game away probably 7 or 8 minutes before Tennessee ended up putting the game away. But some stuff I think I saw today to make me think Syracuse's offense will be at least solid in the ACC.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. We got some landscaping going on here.
They're moving already. They got Tennessee out of here. Tennessee in the end zone gone. Syracuse in the end zone gone. Be less than 24 hours until Virginia Tech and South Carolina are kicking it off in here tomorrow.
Beamer ball coming to the bins.
It is, yep.
Anyways, that's a pretty good wrap-up of what happened today. Obviously, plenty along the, right in front of Tennessee. I believe next week is ETSU, right?
Yep.
And then it's going to be Georgia in week 3. So we'll be taking these first impressions and we'll be trying to see what we can build off of them. As always, leave us a comment if you've got any thoughts on the game as well. Ryan, any other final wrap-up thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, I don't think a ton. David Sanders doesn't play today.
Right.
Minor injury, it sounded like occurred on Wednesday in practice. Josh Heupel said, they thought he was going to be able to play. The doctor said this morning they probably shouldn't push it. So he's hopeful next week. Again, they got by without him fine today. The offensive line played well. It'll be the same way against ETSU next week. I'd like to see him play. I don't think you want his first career game being against Georgia. And then 2, just on the receiver aspect and the offense aspect as a whole, actually, I try to make this quick, but we saw changes. We saw pistol. We saw tighter splits. We saw it. Not that it was that at all times, but that was a big talking point before really Nico this offseason was how is Tennessee going to change their offense? Are there going to be, moves away from Heupel's kind of stereotype? And I think there was. It wasn't all crazy, but there were changes. I thought we saw Ethan Davis in the slot with Braylon Staley out wide.
A good bit, yeah.
Braylon Staley was out wide on his deep post for a touchdown. I thought that was interesting. And just all as a whole, I felt like Travis Smith got a little bit of run as a 4th receiver, but it was mostly those 3 starters that they rolled with throughout the game. And a good bit of 12 personnel as well with Ethan Davis and Miles Kitselman.
Braylon Staley, who, by the way, seems like he could be an early favorite for Joey Aguilar. They connected a lot throughout the game.
5 catches maybe?
Yes. 4 catches on 6 targets. And then obviously Chris Brazel as well. Braylon Staley goes for 95 yards. Again, Tennessee 247 yards passing as well. It's going to wrap it up for us. As always, you can go check out our coverage over on RockyTopInsider.com. If you're on the Rocky Top Insider YouTube channel right now, we got tons of post-game content and press conferences that you can go and find there. Again, number 24, Tennessee picks up a win in its season opener, 45-26 over Syracuse. This is Ryan Schumpert. I'm Rick Butler. See you back for the next one.